Hello and welcome to the Namma Bengaluru talk show, supported by IndigoMusic.com, a platform dedicated to addressing Bengaluru's most pressing urban issues. I am Vinod Jacob from Namma Bengaluru Foundation, and through these engaging conversations with experts and changemakers, we aim to uncover challenges and propose actionable citizen-centric solutions for a better brand Bengaluru. I welcome you to today's discussion on Bengaluru's misplaced priorities, tunnel deck, sky deck, and expressways. I am honored to have with us today Mrs. Katyani Chamraj, a distinguished freelance journalist with over 32 years of experience in writing on development issues. Since 2005, she has served as the executive trustee of Civic Bangalore, an organization dedicated to urban governance through a rights based approach. Recently, she led a campaign against Bengaluru's Tunnel Road and Skydeck projects, highlighting their limited benefit to citizens. Her commitment to aligning urban development with citizens' needs makes her insights vital for today's discussion. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Katyani, ma'am.
Thank you, and good evening to all the listeners.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being with us today. Let's delve into the pressing issues surrounding Bengaluru's urban development and the misplaced priorities. I think
Yes,
it is no better time than to get into this very engaging conversation that we can have today, get into a better resolve on how we can make urban mobility sustainable. Going to the first question, ma'am, I think we need to address. So I just wanted to ask you, what is the key issues of the city in its roads and the traffic issue that we are facing today?
well, we don't even have proper sidewalks, we don't have proper roads on the surface. The surface roads themselves are miserable, they are full of potholes. The
Mm.
drains are not clear, so the water stagnates on the road.
Yes.
And we also have terrible flooding, even for a little bit of rain. And because the drainage system is totally skewed, and so when we have all these problems right on the surface, if we start digging and going and making tunnels, I think the dangers of flooding and other hazards are much more in the tunnels. So let us set right the surface problems first, and make sure that everybody has a proper road to travel on, so that we don't prioritize or incentivize only those private vehicle owners who will be using the tunnels. And we want a normal road surface for all general category users, and not
Yeah.
only for some special people who own private cars.
Very true, ma'am. Because I think, to take a key of the actual answer that you gave, the misplaced priorities, as you said, and, in fact, because we don't have a proper drainage system and a proper in Bangalore city. And I think tunnel roads are not going to solve the traffic issues. Or will they solve the traffic issues is the question. Because I think, as a citizen, many of them were asking, like, how, you will be able to, cater this to the population. And is only tunnel roads going to help us solve the mobility issues of Bangalore?
That is the biggest issue here, that we are suggesting a solution which is not going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
All experts, scientists who know something about urban transportation are saying that the tunnel road will not decongest Bengaluru, because the other modes, the suburban rail and metro, carry thousands of people. And I think one of the scientists has done a study. He
Yes.
has said that 89,000 people per hour per destination can be carried on a suburban rail, and about 69,000, I may not have the correct figures, so around 69,000 people can be transferred on a metro with 6 coaches and so on. And how many can we transport through a tunnel road with only private vehicles, where maybe with just one person traveling in each car? So I think it's not even 1% of that. So maybe around 1,000 people will go through a tunnel road.
Yeah.
So are we spending so much money just when we know that it's not going to solve the congestion problem? So,
Yeah.
and if you go on incentivizing the private vehicles like this, there'll be more and more vehicles coming and occupying whatever space you create. The whole idea is you have to start shifting the private vehicle owners to start using public transport. That is the only solution, long term solution.
Yes, I think very true. When you look at that, major of our actually the metropolitan cities, as you see, like Amsterdam or France, Paris, or London, or Dubai, or Singapore, they've all shifted to public transport, I think, and that is the key in the earlier discussions that we had, I think, outside with the mobility experts and urban design and development. Need of the hour for a growing population like our city and the growing population of both people and vehicles. What do you suggest, ma'am, will be the solution to move people?
Yeah, first of all, experts are again saying that we need to increase the bus.
Yeah.
Now we have only about 6,000 buses, and that number has not changed since 2012 or so, 1,700 buses or so. And whereas the private vehicle number has escalated from about 50 lakhs to more than 1 crore now vehicles. So the whole idea is to shift these private vehicle owners to use a bus, to use the metro, to use the suburban rail system. And I mean, they shouldn't be standing on their prestige, that we use public transport, because in developed cities like London and Tokyo, you don't have the number of vehicles per population that we now have in Bengaluru. We have almost one private vehicle per person in Bengaluru. There are 1.4 crore people and about 1.3 crore vehicles. Whereas in a city like Tokyo, during our recent, it was displayed that in Tokyo, though the population is about 3.5 crore, the number of vehicles is not even one vehicle for three people, 35 lakhs or so vehicles for 3 crore population. So those
Very
are
true.
the aspirations that we should have for Bengaluru, that we will have one vehicle for three people, and that the share of the public transport will go up to 80%, which our scientist Professor Ashish Verma has been saying it's possible to achieve that if you
Yes.
just strengthen the mass rapid transport system. That is
Yeah.
it. Thus, he has spoken only about the metro and the suburban rail. But if you
Very true.
include the bus,
Yes.
up to 80% or more people can go on public transport and reduce the number of private vehicles. That is
Yes.
the only way to solve this uh,
True.
problem of congestion.
Yes, but then coming from this question only, I was also thinking that what about when you say public transport today, the citizens are asking because of the last mile connectivity. In fact, we have the highest number of two wheelers in the country as Bangalore city. So the citizens are asking why and how the last mile connectivity issues can be resolved so that they are able to sort of use the public transport today. That is another issue, very pertinent issue that is actually coming up. And how do we solve last mile connectivity issues? If you hop off from a suburban rail to a metro, or if you hop off from a metro and you want to take the bus, now that sort of proper exchanges are not there. That is another issue. How do you think this would help, or we could solve this for the citizen?
It's also very late that they thought of it, but at least they're putting some last mile connectivity buses from the metro stations. But this should have been done long back, even
Yeah,
with the arterial
yeah,
bus system.
yeah,
We have been advocating since more than 15 years or 20 years to have a hub and spoke
yeah,
system for the BMTC buses, and experts are now saying that we need 18,000 buses to be able to shift all these people from the private vehicle into the bus. And because a bus can go to the corners, every small corner of Bengaluru, and put you near your doorstep. So,
yes,
even better than metro or suburban rail, it is the bus we should focus on so that people have that last mile connectivity. If you adopt that hub and spoke method and
yes,
allow only big buses to go on the arterial roads, and
yes,
they go and they deposit everybody at a bus stand around in the periphery of Bengaluru, and from there they take a last mile connectivity bus, a
yes,
mini bus, which will take them into the interiors. Both the arterial buses as well as the last mile connectivity buses should have regularity and frequency.
yeah,
You should be able to rely on them, and also you should not end up waiting for half an hour for one bus. So there
yes,
should be frequency
yeah,
that every 10 minutes during peak hours, or at least every 15 minutes during other times, you are able to get a bus which will
yeah,
take you to the destination, as quickly as possible. And for that, we need to have more bus rapid transport lanes also on all the arterial roads.
Stemming out from this particular reply that you gave on the last mile connectivity itself, do you think that any, say, as a citizen, if you actually change the working hours between the school going, because the schools are open during a particular time and all the public sector is open during a separate time, and if we can actually look at shifts for the IT parks and the major IT parks where the many lakhs of vehicles that go in and come to the IT parks, so, as a citizen, if we can modify the timing of the schools as well as the public sectors, as well as the industries, and then the IT parks, because I think we have all the IT parks. I think you name it in one corridor, right from Silkport to Kerpuram, the entire IT parks. So Bangalore is blessed with the MNCs and the IT parks, but then we have not been able to design a way out up to how to manage timings and also the traffic load on the roads, because the roads are the same and the traffic triples during this peak hours. So how do you do this peak hour management, ma'am?
Yeah, a good point. If you do change the timings of the schools and the IT sector so that the buses or the vehicles go at different times, to the school or to the IT place, that is one partial solution. But
Mm.
I would say that especially for the school children, you need to have a separate transport system for the children, and let them also use public transport. Now you see in very, very affluent schools, every
Yeah.
child is coming in a private car. So you need to, for the government school children also, you need to introduce free transportation. And for the other school children also, you have to disincentivize parents bringing their child in a car, and see that even the private school children come in buses, and that will reduce a whole lot of congestion that is happening during school hours.
Yes.
And definitely staggering the working hours will help. But one thing about the IT sector,
Yeah.
uh, I'm sure they would prefer to sit in a bus or a train working on their laptop than driving in this condition, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And the incentives are skewed because
Yeah.
every person who works in the IT sector is given a subsidized loan to buy a private car. So that
Yeah.
kind of incentivizes them to buy a private vehicle and go in a luxurious way. But
That's
they're
right.
wasting their time, and
Correct.
also they're getting all stressed out in the traffic congestion, and they're
Very true.
losing time, actually wasting their time driving instead
Yeah.
of simply sitting in a bus and working on their laptop. They would achieve much more.
Well, coming to the quality of roads, I think there is a couple of places, especially I think we have seen the CBD area where Tender Shore is there, and also Elsita, the roads managed by Electronic City Association, by the IT Association, and they have really managed the roads well. Do we take a leaf out of it as a citizen when we go? We find that these roads are really good, but when we step out of that particular area, which is actually sort of managed well, and even by government or private. The PPP model, which was there earlier, do you think that we should go back to the PPP model and ensure that we come out with management of these roads so that our infrastructure is good, the roads are maintained, and it's serviceable to the citizen without no potholes as well as no waterlogging during rains? These are the key issues, ma'am, that we face. And I think, what is your take on this?
Yeah, the one good idea in the Tentershire Road was that all the ducts are, laid on the sides, on the side of the road, and the road itself will never be dug to create some infrastructure for cables and things like that. That is a good point about the Tentershire Road. But I have experienced that many of the Tentershire roads, the drainage is still very, very bad. There is waterlogging on the road because there are not enough shoulder drains to take the water. Needs to have these kind of curbstones so that
Filter.
water goes into the drain very quickly all along the road, and not
Yes.
just at the maybe 100 meters or 200-meter
Yes.
distance. The
Yes.
main problem is that in our drains, it is all tilted up all the time. If you pour a mug of water in any drain, it's not going to reach the Raja Kaluvay.
Yes.
So the culverts are all blocked.
Yeah.
So, and also there is a tendency to concretize those roadside drains and not let the water percolate. So most of the time, the water is just stagnating in the drain and not really going down. It is causing the flooding on the road. So you need to do away with the concretized roadside drains, and instead of that, create whole percolation pits along
Yeah.
those drains so that water just sinks into the ground and also
Very
recharges groundwater. Now we
very
are facing such a groundwater crisis in Bangalore, because of which now we are thinking of bringing water from Mekedatu and all other kinds of places, while we are ignoring and not bothering to do proper rainwater harvesting, even on the roads that
yeah.
BBMP is in charge of. The BWSSB tells us all of you install rainwater harvesting. BBMP itself is not doing it. So
Yeah.
they need to create many more percolation pits even along the roads and wherever it is a low-lying area and even in parks. And
Yeah.
there are some private initiatives like Rainwater Club and all who are trying to do that. They have a target of even starting 1 million wells in
Yeah.
Bangalore. So all that should help, but even government should take more interest in doing rainwater harvesting, because BWSSB chairman himself has said recently that we have not done enough, you know, for rainwater harvesting, and we are still going on increasing the number of phases of Kaveri water that we bring to Bengaluru,
Very true.
which is
Yes.
totally unsustainable.
Very true. I think that, yeah, you're right. I think we have to come out with sustainable solutions, as you said, both for looking at the environment and also the water table, which is also very, very, very important for the city like Bangalore and its growing population. And maybe I was just thinking about what is the sort of expenditure that these guys have planned for the tunnel roads and skydeck and all that. Do you think, this sort of 17,000 crores is really worth all this thing where we have this Bangalore's topography itself is different. So, as a citizen, this sort of money expenditure being taxpayers' money being spent on these things, or is it better to come out with the infrastructure on the surface?
Absolutely. It's unthinkable that somebody can spend 17,000 crore to create these tunnel roads which are not going to decongest Bengaluru, and the same money could have been used
Yeah,
to improve the mass rapid transport system and provide the last mile connectivity and the extra number of buses that we want, 18,000 buses. All that money could have been spent for that. And it would really solve the problem. And also, the 17,000 crore is a underestimate because they have many more projects lined up, even flyovers and expressways. So they themselves have estimated that it can go up to 50,000 crores. And all that money is going to be taken as a loan
yeah,
from, maybe through PPPs. And
yeah,
that loan will be on the head of every Bangalorean to
yeah,
repay. And why should a Bangalorean who's struggling to walk on the road as a pedestrian bear
yeah,
the cost of this to incentivize 2.7% of the population who has these 23 lakh cars,
yeah,
and who want to go in the tunnel road? So,
yeah,
why is that burden being put on 1.4 crore people
yeah.
to satisfy the whims, and I would like to say the status consciousness of 2% of the population of Karnataka?
No, last but not the least, I think, we have so many organizations. We have ISRO here, which can put a satellite on space, like yesterday, the Space Paradox projects. And also, we have the best defense establishments. We have the best of public sector. We have Indian Institute of Science. And I think, Bangalore is the best city. So, as a citizen, when we look at it, or rather the citizen, we are not able to understand why government is only willing and not able to come out with citizen engraved or citizen pro citizen engagement and infrastructural development. Why do you think there is a big gap between the way the citizen thinks and the government thinks?
No, just as you mentioned, all those national public sector units in Bengaluru, which is full of scientific people, academicians and so on, but nobody's interested in listening to them. Now, we have Professor Ashish Verma, crying himself hoarse to improve the mass rapid transport system, but even he is not being heard. So the problem is that the citizen participation itself is so weak. Now, all decisions are being taken in an ad hoc manner by the state government, completely ignoring that the local government, that is BBMP, is the authorized institution for doing the planning for Bengaluru. And they have kept that totally dysfunctional by not even having elections to the third tier. Even the BBMP is not there functioning as a local self government. It should be a self government, which
Yeah.
means state government should not be interfering in the planning for the city. And because the BBMP is not there, we are not able to have the Metropolitan Planning Committee for Bengaluru, which is the
Yeah.
constitutionally mandated
Yeah.
planning body for Bengaluru. And BMLTA should be coming under the MPC as the planning authority for transport uh, in uh, in coordination with the land use planning also. There has to be coherence between that. And right now, because of all these ad hoc plans, completely ignoring the due process of law and not empowering the BMLTA and the MPC to plan for Bengaluru, we are having all these unilaterally taken decisions.
Exactly, ma'am. I think, that's why there is not much of a citizen or a public consultation that is being planned, or for that matter, sharing any of the detailed project reports or design. So that, there are so many urban planners, that, as you said, we can name a whole lot of them in Bangalore, because they have all spent a real good time in the city and in the city planning, like architects, urban planners, civic evangelists. We have so many of them coming and, sharing their views. But I don't know how the government is not able to sort of sit across the table or call or engage with ideas and exchange ideas with these academicians and planners, so that we come out with a truly metropolitan city, like Bangalore. Yeah.
See, the planning has to be after public consultation.
Yes.
The Right to Information Act is there since 20 years now. It mandates that before you take up any project, you have to announce it to the affected public and get their suggestions. And we have completely ignored that. Imagine about these tunnel roads, there has not been a single public consultation. Even the Karnataka Town and Country Planning Act requires that you should announce your schemes, to the affected public and get their objections or suggestions, whatever they are planning to give. And only then you have to take the decisions. This whole process has been violated, and arbitrary decisions are being taken, which we really need to oppose, and citizens have to wake up and start opposing this whole
Yes.
process of decision making.
In fact, that's the idea of also having this sort of conversation, so that we at least bring to light, what is happening in Bangalore, because, I think Bengaluru needs a better town planning, as well as better roads, better civic facilities, and also, some sort of international outlook. When you say international outlook, it's infrastructure that actually gives the city its real, what do you call, design, as well as infrastructure that it has. And so, what are the other things that you have taken up, ma'am? Have you taken it up, and are you going to come out with any plan so that the citizens can join you?
Yes, we already had a signature campaign, and amazingly, we got more than 2,300 signatures from citizens who are really worried about the kind of decisions that are being taken. And they've all said, they've given their opinions that this is a wasteful project, which is not going to solve the problem, also. So, why go ahead with it? So, we have these 2,000 signatures already. And also, I should mention that because there is no BBMP council, we also
Yes.
don't have the ward committees and the area sabhas, which are the places where citizens can really influence decision making by participating in the ward committees and the area sabhas. If they had been there, they could have all, you know, given their opinion through the ward committees, whether they want these tunnel roads passing through their area or not. Those kind of decisions also should have been allowed
Yeah.
for the ward committees and area supposed to express whether they want these tunnels.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think, that's a real roundup, and you've actually touched upon each and every subject, especially in terms of how we can, and also sustainably solve the, the traffic and the sort of, road infrastructure, as well as how we can make a sustainable Bangalore. Thank you so much for spending your time, and also joining us today, ma'am. And it's been a real pleasure to speak to you. And we look forward to more conversations like this. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, and I hope there are plenty of listeners listening to this and that they will take action at their local level and really strengthen citizens' voice in Bengaluru. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
giving me this opportunity.
Welcome.